Hey guys, welcome back. This is my updated Toon deck profile for the November 2017 format. So let's get right into it. The last time I made this deck profile was before links. So now this is post links. And we're going to start off this deck profile with showing two Toon Dark Magician. Toon Dark Magician is the strongest Toon monster we have in the deck. And if you're not familiar with Toons, the Toon's effects are if Toon World is on the field and your opponent does not control any Toon monsters, your Toons can attack directly. So that's a big proponent for the deck. The big strategy is attacking directly, not caring about what monsters your opponent has on field because you're just going to be floating your attacks over them anyway. And Toon Dark Magician with 2500 attack, attacking directly with Toon Dark Magician is going to be really, is going to advance you towards winning. And all my monsters in this deck are dark monsters. I don't run any Toon Mermaids or any Toon Cyber Dragons. Everything is dark, and that's going to help with your Allure of Darkness and all of that I run in the deck also. And Toon Dark Magician has an effect as a Toon, and his effect is once per turn you can discard one Toon card in your hand, or Manga Ryuran if you play that, but we don't. So you discard one Toon, and then you can either search a spell trap, so you can get any spell trap that you need at any particular situation, or you can special summon a Toon directly from the deck, ignoring its summoning conditions, so that's really great. You can get a Toon Red Eyes, for instance, or any other of your Toon monsters that you might want out on the field. So Toon Dark Magician is a good searcher for the deck, and also a very powerful monster, and he's also a level 7 that gets you into your rank 7 plays. So overall, he's just a really good card. And I do run him at 2. Another card I do run at 2 also is Red Eyes Toon Dragon. Red Eyes Toon Dragon has an added effect that you can special summon one Toon from your hand once per turn, ignoring its summoning conditions. So cool little combo to do with Red Eyes is if you have a Red Eyes on the field and a Toon Dark Magician in your hand, you can special summon that Toon Dark Magician and then use Toon Dark Magician's effect and then get another Red Eyes on the field if you discard a Toon card. And then that's a lot of damage on board already. The thing though with the Toons is that all Toons cannot attack the turn they are summoned. So that's the drawback with the Toons. Yes, you can attack directly, but you're going to have to wait a turn. And we do play cards to help out with that and to make sure that your monsters don't get beat up the next turn, and get sent away. But this can be rank 7 fodder for Exceeds, or you can just have the Toons out on the field so that you can beat over your opponent next turn. A way that you can get out Red Eyes Toon Dragon is using Blackstone of Legend, which we run 2 of. It takes up your normal summon, but then you get to special summon a Red Eyes Toon Dragon directly from your deck, and that's really good. And then you can also recycle your Red Eyes from the graveyard with the Blackstone secondary effect. But you can only use one effect per turn, so you can make sure you keep that in mind so you don't misplay and bring the Blackstone back to your hand from the graveyard and then try to normal summon it. You can't do that. But what you can do is if you have an Allure of Darkness in your hand and you need a dark monster, you can use Blackstone's effect, get it back into your hand, and then banish it with Allure of Darkness if you don't get another dark target to banish. So Blackstone is good. Now to the other Toons, I play 3 Toon Mask Sorcerer. Toon Mask Sorcerer is really important in the deck. He's the main monster you're going to want to normal summon. You do normal summon a lot in the deck. Other cards that I play help with that knowledge of just normal summoning and not special summoning as much. The special summon heavy cards are the Red Eyes and the Toon Dark Magicians, but in the early game and mid game, you're probably just going to be normal summoning more your Toon Mask Sorcerers, your Cannon Soldier, and stuff like that. So Toon Mask Sorcerer's effect is you can when it inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can draw a card. So that's really important for getting deeper into your deck. And if you have 2 of them on the field, you can draw 2 cards once both of them attack. Or if you have a Toon rollback and make one attack twice, you draw twice. And that gets your spells and traps to your hand faster, and then that can disrupt more plays for your opponent. And a big thing for the deck is disrupting your opponent's plays. So Toon Mass Sorcerer at 3 is really good. It's also a dark monster, as well as the one Toon Cannon Soldier that I run. Toon Cannon Soldier is good because he's a 1400 and he's a dark monster. And he's a level 4, just like Toon Mass Sorcerer, and that gets you into your ranks 4 toolbox. Which we have a lot of rank 4s on the deck because there's a lot of good rank 4s. So Toon Cannon Soldier is good. I run them at 1. You can run them at 2. But, I mean, 1 is cool. That's it for the monsters. Now for the spells, you have to run the 3 Toon Kingdom. Toon Kingdom's super important. This is the new Toon World for the deck. Now, Toon Kingdom's cost for activation is banishing the top 3 cards from your deck face down. And it is face down, so that does kind of suck because they're completely out of play. But it's much better than paying the 1,000 like the past Toon World card did. And also it has added bonus of protecting your Toons. So if your Toons would ever get destroyed, and that's not once per turn, you can banish the top card from your deck face down instead for each of those monsters. So Toon Kingdom protects your cards, and also it prevents your Toons from being targeted by card effects, which is really useful too. Because it's really hard for your opponent to target the Toons because they can't. They're gonna have to get around that somehow, and it just really helps keep your Toons in check, keep your Toons on the field, and the fact that you can keep them on the field, keep them from being destroyed on the field, really helps because you're gonna want these Toons to stay on the field as much as possible so that you can attack directly and win, basically. So 3 Toon Kingdom. We have the 2 Terraforming to search out the Toon Kingdom. That's pretty self-explanatory. Toon Kingdom is super important. A thing also to note is that like Toon Cannon Soldier and the Mass Sorcerer, if Toon World leaves the field, they leave the field as well. So you have to be careful with that. So if Toon Kingdom gets popped, they get popped, and that's really unfortunate. One of the best cards in the deck, you have to run at 3, is 3 Toon Table of Contents. This card searches any card in the deck that's a Toon card. Any Toon card, any monster, any spell and trap, and even Toon Kingdom. So this can get you into any play that you need at the moment. If you have a Toon monster but you need Toon Kingdom, you can get that. If you have Toon Kingdom but no Toon monsters, you can get a monster. If you have both, you can get a spell trap to support like Toon Briefcase or anything like that. So Toon Table of Contents is super important. You want to see this as early as possible. So you run it at 3. Next, we have 2 Shadow Toon. Shadow Toon's effect is you can target one of your opponent's monsters if you have Toon World face up on the field and inflict damage to your opponent equal to that opponent's monster's attack. And that can help you get game even faster because you can combine this with Comic Hand and burn them for the opponent's monster and take the monster and then attack directly. So Shadow Toon is really good too. I run 1 Toon rollback, target 1 Toon, and it can make a second attack during the battle phase. So that's really good with the Toon Mass Sorcerer. If you have Red Eyes or Dark Magician out, that could be like 5,000 damage, and that could like get you game immediately. So Toon rollback's good, but it's not really like the best card to have in all situations. So having it at 1 is good, and you can just search it out when you need it. A card that I wish you could search, but you can't, is Comic Hand, which I just mentioned. We run 2 Comic Hand. Comic Hand, basically, if you have Toon World face up on the field, you can target one of your opponent's monsters and then equip this card to that monster and then take control of that monster, and it becomes a Toon. So what's great about that is that it's now protected under Toon Kingdom because it is a Toon monster, and then it can attack directly because it is a Toon. So that's awesome. You can get a monster away from your opponent. You can even get a link monster from your opponent and just attack with it and just take away their resource, and then it only benefits you. Having Kamekana 2 is really good. This card is super crazy. I wish it was searchable. Now, for more draw power, we have the 2 Allure of Darkness. Allure of Darkness, like I said, all my monsters in this deck are dark monsters. So you're always going to have an Allure of Darkness target if you have a monster in your hand. And having it at 2 is really good. You can have it at 3, but having it at 2 for me has been working really well. Especially since I had run a lot of spells, so I don't want to, get 2 Allures in my hand or an Allure when I don't have a monster and stuff like that. So having it at 2 is good, but you can play with the ratios. And this just gets you deeper into the deck. And I also run 2 Pot of Duality. Pot of Duality, again, gets you deeper into the deck. Excavate the 3 cards, top 3 cards from your deck, pick 1, and then shuffle the rest into your deck. So with Pot of Duality, you can't special summon the turn you activate the card. So that's where your normal summons come in. You can get Toon Mass Sorcerer or Toon Cannon Soldier. And then you can normal them and then play the Pot of Duality, get any card that you need, maybe like a trap, and then set it and then pass and you'll be fine. So Pot of Duality is good to get you into your plays. For board wipe, we play 1 Raigeki and 1 Dark Hole. And, you just play these because they wipe your opponent's board from their monsters, and that's fine. And then with Dark Hole, if you have Toon Kingdom out, you can protect your Toons from being destroyed by banishing cards instead. So Dark Hole doesn't really hurt you as much as it hurts your opponent. Now that rounds out the spells. To go to the traps, I run 2 Toon Briefcase. Now Toon Briefcase is really good. If you have a Toon monster on the field, you can activate this card, and when your opponent summons a monster, you can shuffle it back into the deck. And that's great for disrupting your opponent's plays, taking a resource away from them and shuffling it back into the deck. It's really good. Toon Briefcase at 2 is superb. Now we have 1 Toon Mask. Now Toon Mask, if you have Toon World on the field, you can target one of your opponent's monsters, and then the level of that monster, let's say it's a level 5, you can special summon a Toon from your deck that's level 5 or lower. So if they have a big monster on the field that's level 8, you can get any Toon monster you want. So like if they have a Blue Eyes on the field, you can target that Toon Mask. It's a level 8. And then you can special summon a Red Eyes or a Dark Magician or a Toon Mask or anything in defense, and then have another Toon on board. So Toon Mask is really good for that. Now for the disruption plays, we run 2 Lose 1 Turn. Now Lose 1 Turn is super powerful in this deck. The fact that you're usually not going to have a special summon monster on the field, you can activate the Lose 1 Turn. If you have a Toon Mass Sorcerer, you activate this card, and then its effect is when your opponent would special summon a monster in attack position, it goes to defense position, and all special summon monsters have their effects negated for the turn that they're summoned. So that's really good for buying you a turn and making sure your opponent doesn't go off and do crazy shenanigans, because their normal summon won't be affected, but their special summons will. And the special summons are what really drives most combo-based decks. So having to lose 1 turn really disrupts your plays immediately and buys you time to start attacking directly and getting your Toon combos out. So lose 1 turn is really good. Then we have 3 Floodgate Trap Hole. Now Floodgate Trap Hole's effect is when your opponent summons a monster, you flip the Floodgate Trap Hole, and then it gets flipped face down defense position, and it can't change its battle position. So what's great about Floodgate Trap Hole is that since it's face down on the field now, your Toons don't have to worry about them. If you flood your opponent's field with the Floodgate Trap Hole, and you put their monsters face down defense, you're attacking directly anyway, so you don't have to worry about those monsters on the field. This enables you to attack your opponent directly and not worry about their monsters. and also disrupt your opponent's plays from getting to their boss monsters or anything by hitting their monsters early. Or even hitting the boss monster if able with the Floodgate Trap Hole. So running at 3 is really good. Also, we run the 2 Quaking Mirror Force. Now, Quaking Mirror Force is really important. Just like Floodgate Trap Hole, it flips your opponent's monsters face down. So when your opponent declares an attack, you flip the Quaking Mirror Force, their monsters get flipped face down defense position. They can't change their battle positions. And like I said before with the Floodgate Trap Hole, your Toons won't care and they just attack directly. And your opponent just has bodies on the field that they can't use unless they tribute them. So Quaking Mirror Force is really strong in this deck for flooding your opponent's field with face down position monsters and then just attacking over them anyway with your Toons and getting the win. And then we run 1 Macro Cosmos. Macro Cosmos is the better dimensional fissure because it also banishes spells and traps. So this is really good if you're facing like a Cosmo player, all their Cosmos will just get banished and Cosmo Town will be banished. So it's like spells like that activate in the grave or have grave effects, or any monsters that have grave effects, they won't be able to activate because they get banished instead. And since we're banishing a lot in this deck already with Toon Kingdom and a Lore of Darkness and stuff like that, Macrocosmos doesn't really hurt us because we don't recycle as much. The only thing that we recycle is the red eyes with the Blackstone. But other than that, Macrocosmos isn't going to hurt us as much as it's going to hurt your opponent. So, and it in most cases, once you flip the Macrocosmos, you're in good waters already. You're about to win the duel because most decks nowadays, they rely on having their monsters in the grave and not having them be banished. So Macrocosmos is really good. And now that rounds out the deck. That's a 40 card main deck. Now to the extra deck. So we play 1 Ebon High Magician. He's a rank 7 monster that requires 2 level 7 spellcaster monsters. So that's where your Toon Dark Magicians come into play. He's really cool because you're able to activate quick spells, quick play spells and traps from your hand during your opponent's turn by just attaching. And also, if it gets destroyed by battle card effect, you can special summon a dark spellcaster from your deck. That could be like a Toon Mass Sorcerer. And then you can destroy a card on the field. So Ebon High Magician is really cool. You can get into him. And then we run the 1 Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon. This is 2 level 7 monsters. He's good for burn damage. He burns 500 for every effect that your opponent would activate. And that's good for if your opponent's really low on life points and you just aren't able to hit him for the full 8,000. And then you can just overlay into Red Eyes Flare and then hope that they just kill themselves. So Red Eyes Flare Metal is really good. And then we run the number 11 Big Eye. Big Eye takes away monsters, so you can take away a Link monster or anything like that. And you can just take control of it and then you can attack with it. So it's really good. You can just take their monster away from them. With the extra deck, you can just play really anything. This deck isn't extra deck heavy. You don't really go into the extra deck much, but it's good to have these cards just in case. So it really doesn't matter what you play. But this is what I play for my rank 7s, and for the rank 4s, that's where most of the bulk is. Most of the classics, Abyss Dweller, Castell, Gaga. I feel like these are like the mainstays of most decks. The thing is, like, Abyss Dweller will help prevent your opponent from using grave effects. Castell can shuffle something back into the deck. Gaga Cowboy can burn for 800, and sometimes that could be game right there because you can attack with your Toon Mass Sorcerers and stuff. And then main phase 2, you can just overlay into Gaga Cowboy, burn for another 800, and then that's most likely game at that point. So that's really cool. We run 1 Diamond Direwolf because he can pop a monster on the field. You run the Dark Rebellion XYZ Dragon to get over really powerful monsters. Then we run the one Downward Magician. Downward Magician is a 2500 monster when she comes out, and she does piercing damage for defense monsters, so that could be helpful. Then we run Steel Swarm Roach. He can negate summon of a monster, so that's cool. I do the one Giant Hand for monster negation. The Diamond Crab King because he's really beefy. Wind Up Zen Meister for the memes. I really just like this card. I put it in here just kind of teasing the Wind Up deck profile that I'm going to make in this channel soon enough. And then just to round out, we got the Performance Trapeze Magician to have a monster attack twice. And then we have the Silent 101 or number 101 Silent Honor Arc for taking a monster away. So, and that rounds out the extra deck. And that's pretty much the Toon deck. I love this deck so much. It's really fun to use. And if you guys play Toons and have any tips or tricks that you want to talk about, please, I encourage you to leave it in the comments. And if you like this video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.